Okay, so that is 11:30. So we will go ahead and make a start. Thank you very much for those of you who have joined me this morning. This morning's webinar is looking at running season-long competitions in ClubV1. Now, this was actually a webinar that was requested by one of our users. So I would encourage you, if there's anything that you want to be covered in one of these Friday tutorials, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to put something together for sort of any topic, really, anything that you think you'd get some benefit from. Okay, so those of you who have joined or watched these tutorials before will know that I try and keep these as close to sort of half an hour as I can. I have got a sneaky suspicion that we might just creep over the half-hour mark today. So I will try my best to keep it to sort of half an hour, but there is quite a bit to cover in this. So let's get going. What do I want to cover today? So the sort of standard format is, why should you run your season-long competitions through ClubV1? Then the different forms of competitions available, how each form of competition publishes to how did I do, and then questions and answers at the end. Okay, if you have got any questions as we go, please do add them into the chat or the Q&A, but I will come to all of them at the end. Okay, so why should you run season-long competitions through ClubV1? So you've got a system that can manage your competitions and can do that. You don't need to be filling in spreadsheets and manually doing the work that a lot of you are doing week in, week out. The system can run those competitions for you. I fully appreciate that the standard ways we have in the system maybe don't quite fit for the way every golf club wants to do things, but certainly we can take a lot of the admin burden from you, your volunteers. Okay, you can get an up-to-date leaderboard at any time with these season-long competitions. So if you want to see how things stand at any given point, you can do that. You can allow the members to enter the competitions or not. It's up to them. You can select which competitions count towards each type of competition. So it's not that every single competition counts, completely up to you. And we'll go through that when we're setting up the competitions. You can add manual allocations to eclectics or order of merit. So if you want to give people points for certain things in an order of merit, you can do that manually. If you want to allow general play scores to count towards an eclectic, you can add a manual allocation to that as well. You can also choose to include or exclude DQs. So if someone has been disqualified from a competition, should their score count towards the eclectic or the order of merit or whatever it may be, you've got that decision to make. Okay. So the different forms of competition that we have available in ClubV1, we have eclectics, which are calculated and accumulated, and we'll go through the different types and what they mean. You have orders of merit, you have aggregate prints, you have leagues, and you have knockouts. Now, we won't cover knockouts today. I think knockouts is something that is used fairly well within the system now for those of you who can. I may touch on it briefly at the end if we've got time, but I'm not convinced that we'll have the time to cover that this morning. Okay, so let's start with eclectics. I'm going to jump into my ClubV1 and we're going to look at both calculated and accumulated eclectics and what they mean for you. So I'll jump into my ClubV1 and I will go to golf and eclectics here. Okay. As you can see, I have set up an accumulated eclectic and a calculated eclectic already. Accumulated, if I go in, I'm going to pretend that we're adding the eclectic, but we're just going to edit it for now. And we give it a name. We select whether it's calculated or accumulated. We then have men's, ladies, or mixed. What kind of result score type we want. Do we want gross? Do we want gross less handicap? Do we want a fractional net score? Do we want Stableford points, par bogeys, or a complete net score? We select which course card can be associated to that, to the accumulated eclectic. Do we want the current handicap to count or the first round handicap? And do we want to include those disqualified rounds in this? I have selected no. Okay. Continue through there. We can set up divisions. So if you want more than one division in your eclectic competitions, you can do that. And then with the accumulated, and this is the big difference, or one of the big differences between accumulated and calculated, is that accumulated allows all entrants to enter the eclectic. Okay. So with a calculated, you can put in which members are actually playing in that eclectic so they can enter it. Or you can have an accumulated, which is then open to everyone. Okay. So continue through there, and that is now set up. So what we can do in here, with an accumulated eclectic, we can manage our events. So we can click on there, and this is all of the events that we've got coming up. Okay, so I've got this one competition here, which we'll look at in a second on the PSI, but no other competitions to count. Okay, so only this competition at my club, my demo club, is eligible for this eclectic competition. We can add manual rounds. So as I've mentioned before, if you allow members to put general play scores in and count it towards their eclectics, you can come in here, you can click add manual round, search for myself, and then we can put a score in. We can just put one score in on one hole if we want to. So we can say I made a 3 on the 4th there. I can then save that, and that will update into my overall print. So if I do overall print here, what we will see at this point is that I just have that 3 in there because I have not added in any other scores at the moment. Okay, so that's what we do for a manual input, and we can enter scores one at a time. So I know that certainly at my club, we have lots of different eclectics, but they're run pretty much by members. So it's just certain sections of members. And we have to go in and we have to physically submit our scores. Okay, so we don't just want our best scores through the season. We want to go in and physically submit those scores. This is a way of doing that. Okay. If I just jump into the PSI, which I have here, and I sign in, I can do my score entry. I need to sign into the competition first. Sign in. Should have clicked yes there. Score entry, eclectic demo competition. So I put my scores in from this competition, and I'm just going to do it nice and simply with now 4s on each hole. When I then come to submit my score, it was saying, do you want to do you want to submit this score for the accumulated eclectic? I will say yes and continue through there. That has now entered my scores, and I can come back into my eclectic, refresh that. And now, hopefully, when I come to print this, what we will now see, no, because I haven't closed the competition yet, that'll be why. Let me go back and close that competition. I confirm I wish to close that competition, and then I can come out to that and go back to my eclectic. And hopefully now, when I do my overall print, what we're seeing there is I've got a 4 on every hole, apart from the 4th, where I've still got my 3, because that's my best score on that hole. Okay, obviously you will have more and more members, and then at the end here it's giving me my net score. So I'm a 71 gross, net 74 as things stand. Okay, so that is your accumulated eclectics. Calculated eclectics run a little bit differently, and these are used at the end of a season, really. So once competitions have been closed, if we go and set this up, we've got calculated men's gross less handicap again. It's still my white course. Current handicap, disqualified, no. Continue through there. I can put my divisions in again. But then when we get to the people section, we can tick in here who is eligible for this competition. Now I've got everyone ticked at the moment, but if we wanted to untick them, we can, and just select people individually. Okay, but I'm going to have all of my members just for ease for today. Continue through there. And then what I would do is I would manage events, and I would then select which events from my closed competitions I want to use here. So I'm just going to select my 8 majors here. Click update. That has now input those competitions. And now if I click overall print, the system goes and looks at all of those competitions and has a look at my scores. Okay, and as you can see, I'm at the top there leading with 56 gross, -3, 59 net, and there are the other gross net scores in there as well. So these are all of the people who have actually played in these competitions. Obviously, normally you will have a lot more than I do at my demo club. Okay, so that's the difference between calculated and accumulated eclectics. You can allow members to input their scores as they go through the season in an accumulated, or you can just run an eclectic print at the end of a season. Obviously, you can get an updated version as we go. So if I manage events and say that we've only played the first 4 competitions at the moment, I can update that list and do a print at that point. And there we can see where we stand at the moment. Okay. So then for each competition we add in, so we add in the 5th, update, overall print, and we get an updated leaderboard each time. Okay, so eclectics are really, really useful in the system. They will publish to How Did I Do if we've selected it to. We can remove them from How Did I Do if we don't want to show it in there. And we just click remove from How Did I Do there. Okay. So that is eclectics. I appreciate it's a very quick run through, but as I've mentioned, I am trying to keep it as close to half an hour as we can this morning. Orders of merit, another one that lots and lots of clubs use in the system, but a lot of clubs don't know it's even there. So orders of merit, I've got one set up. I've got 2 set up here. I've got my 2025 order of merit, which has got competitions in it already, and I've got my November tutorial order of merit. Okay. So I can click in here, I can edit that competition, and when we're setting it up, we've got our 2025 order of merit. We're going for men's again. It's a net competition. And then we have the points allocation. Now, this is really important. And this is how the system is going to actually allocate the points that you want it to allocate. So we have 4 options. Option 1 resolves ties and allocates points sequentially. So that will do your count back for each competition, and it will allocate the points. So you might have 2 people who have won the competition on, a net 70 or whatever it may be. The system will work that out on count back and give the winner 10 points, second place 9 points, 8 points, 7 points, etc., etc. As you'll see when we come to it, you can change the amount of points you allocate. Okay. Option 2 is kind of how they do money on the European Tour or the PGA Tour. They sum points for ties and divide equally. So if you've got 3 people tied for first place, it will use first, second, and third, which would then give 9, 9, and 9, because that's a total of 27 points being allocated. Okay. Then option 3, award highest points to ties and then skip for tied positions. Okay. So what that means is we've got those 3 people tied at the top. We are going to allocate 10, 10, and 10 because they are all in first place. But then we're missing out second and third because 9 and 8 are second and third. And it jumps then to fourth place and they get 7. Okay. Option 4 is award highest points to ties and do not skip points for tie position. So that would give all of our top 3, in our case that we've been discussing, it would give them all 10 points, but then it would give the next person 9 points, 8 points, and so on and so on. So that may be a way that you choose to do that. Then you've got the option of how do you allocate these points on a competition by competition basis? Are you doing an overall points allocation or do you want it divisional? Most clubs, I would suggest, do an overall, but obviously completely up to you. And then this is another interesting one, potentially controversial one. Do we give points for no returns? So depending on how many places you give points for, if you have a competition, and let's say you're giving top 10 points, and you have a competition, terrible weather or whatever it may be, and only 8 people enter, and 2 of those NR, they would still get allocated points if you're giving points for NRs. Okay? By clicking no, if they do not submit their score, if they NR, they will not get allocated any points, even if they are, 2 of the 8 people who entered this competition and you've got 10 points available. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. We continue through there, and this is now where we set the points allocation. Okay, you can add as many positions as you want to in here just by clicking add another position. Okay. Add in as many as you like, and then you would go through and set up how many points you are offering on a competition by competition basis. So what you may choose to do, and some clubs do, is they do 20 for first, and then 15, 14, 13. So there's the added benefit of coming first, and they would then go through and so on and so forth. Okay. I'm just going to leave it as it was, so I'm not going to actually edit that at the moment. Continue through there. So we're going to leave it as 10 to 1 for our top 10 positions. Continue through there. Which competitions count? So I've just got a few of the competitions in there. Again, these are competitions that have already closed. Okay, so we run the orders of merit once we have closed the competition. Continue through there. And then we select who is eligible to enter this. Now, we can have our filters if we want. Visitors are not included, so open competitions wouldn't really count for your orders of merit. But yeah, in here, this is where you set who is eligible for this order of merit. I'm leaving it as all 145 of my members at the moment. So I'm going to come out of there, pretend that we've set that up. I've got a list here of the events that have counted and all of those other bits that I've put in there. I can then add a manual allocation if I want to. So I can give someone 10 points if I want to. So I go Damien Baxter, 10 points, and I save that in there. That will now add down here a manual allocation for Damien Baxter, and I can edit that if I need to. Okay, so I just click on there. I can see who that is, and I can delete Damien Baxter's 10 points there. I then go to my order of merit, click overall print. Do I want to update the results before display? Well, yes, I do. View that, and then that gives me all of my points there for who has earned their points this year. Okay. If I then go to our November order of merit, we've got no competitions in here at the moment. I go to manage competitions and add in those 8 majors again. Continue through there. All of my members are eligible. Continue. And then print and view. Okay. So there, I mean, we could see in the eclectic that I'd actually won the eclectic by a couple of shots, I think it was. But I'm only 3rd place out of those people in the orders of merit because Jonathan Cook has obviously been a bit more consistent and he's earned more points through the year than I have. Okay. So that is orders of merit. Next, we're going to look at aggregate prints. Okay, and aggregate prints is another one that is used very, very commonly within our club. So for an aggregate print, we go to reports and we go golf, and we have aggregate print at the top here. Now, what this is used for is, let's say that you have a competition through the year. So a prime example is at my home club. We have a competition which is the 8 majors. And it's your best 4 scores from those majors that count towards the aggregate at the end. Okay, the top 8 people from that actually then go into a knockout competition at the end of the year, and that then creates our golfer of the year, if you like. Okay, so if I go into aggregate print, I can see all of the competitions, again, that have closed. They have to be closed. And I'm just going to do exactly what I've just mentioned, our 8 majors. Select all 8 of those. Number of best scores to select, I'm going to say 4. And then depending on where we're up to in the season, do I want to include players with fewer than the required number of scores? So if I take out round 8 and we've got 1 round left in our aggregate trophy, okay, I want to include players with fewer than the required number of scores. I'm going to continue through there, and we're going to call this the aggregate trophy. Okay, do we want to publish this to How Did I Do? Up to you, yes or no. Do we want to apply order of merit points? So if we say yes in here, we then select which order of merit we want to apply the points to. So this is going to do exactly the same as we've done already with the order of merit. Your top 10 people are going to get 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 points based on their aggregate finishing position. Okay, but for today, we're going to select no on here. Is it gross or net? In this case, it's net. And then is our scoring type stroke play, Stableford, or par bogey? I'm going to leave it as stroke play for now. Continue through there. Do we want to use the first round playing handicap? No, we don't. We want it to be on each date of the competition. Do we want to include rounds with an NR? No, we don't. Do we want to include disqualified rounds? No, we don't. Do we want to show best and worst rounds? Well, no, it doesn't really matter. Do we want to use the best round or last round to perform a count back? Completely up to you, best or last. I think, Michael, when we do this, use last. Do you want to include CDH ID on a print? Not really. And then do we want to print this in HTML or CSV? We're going to go with HTML for today. And I am going to continue through there. Then again, divisions if we want them, but we're just going to have 1. And that's now going to generate our print. And we can see again in here that Jonathan Cook has won with his 4 scores of 277. So as you can see down at the bottom here, Sam Fleming and David Richardson have only played 2 competitions. So if we were 6 competitions through and there were 2 left, they would know that actually they're probably not too far away from getting into that top 6, top 8, top 10, whatever it is that we need. So they would know that on the final round of the competition, they need to have a good round. If at the end of the season we don't want to include them because we've now finished, so it doesn't matter if people haven't played their 4, we would just select do not include players with fewer than the 4 necessary results. Aggregate trophy again. Not publishing to we can publish to How Did I Do now because it's finished. Apply order of merit points. No, again, we're not going to do that. Or we could do now that we've finished. Gross or net score sheet, up to you. We're going net. Stroke play, Stableford, par bogey, we're going stroke play again. All of those settings stay the same. Continue through there. Divisions stay the same. And then this is now our final print. So I've got 7 players who have actually played all 4 or the minimum of 4 competitions. And the result is that Jonathan Cook is our champion for the aggregate trophy this year. Now, as I say, it may be like at my club that you'll have more than 7 players, but we put our best 8, so our top 8, into a knockout, 4 quarterfinals, 2 semi-finals, and a final to crown the golfer of the year. And you can certainly do that using these aggregate prints. Okay, and that is your aggregate prints. Then we have leagues, and leagues are a bit of a complicated one, but I have got leagues set up. So if we go golf and leagues, when we're setting up our league in here, we give it a name, and I've got my November tutorial league. Then we have the aggregate of best X scores per player from competitions in the league. So we are looking for the best 2 scores per player, okay? And then we're looking at the aggregate of the best 2 scores per team. That'll become a bit more obvious when we actually get into the result. The result format is stroke play. Result type is net. Continue through there. Then we set the competitions up, which count for our league. Continue through there. And then what we would need to do, which I've already done, is add teams. Okay. So we would then give our teams a name, and we'll call this the webinar team. And we would add names in here. So we will add in Nadia, and we will add in Cliff Dean there. Okay, so they're a team of 2. And now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams already set up. As I mentioned, I'd already set them up. And then when we go back to our league now, I can do an overall print. And this is based on our 8 majors again that we've already looked at. Click on there. And we can see that the Berg 1 team of me and me have won with a 277. The Cave team of Jonathan Cook and Dave Richardson have come second with 279. The Berg 2 team of my brother and my dad there have come third. And then the Choppers at the bottom there have come fourth with 283 as well. So they've obviously come fourth on a count back for whatever reason. Now, we did have 7 teams set up. So why are only 4 showing? It's probably because both players haven't played 2 rounds. Okay, so only the teams that have qualified for that best 2 scores per player and best 2 scores per team will show in the overall print. Okay, and that is everything that I wanted to show you. I have got that done in just under half an hour. So we can have a quick look at the knockouts before we go to Q&A, which will then push us over the half an hour, but I think that's okay. Knockouts, the system is very, very clever for knockouts. You can set up all of your knockouts for the year. So I'm going to add a knockout, and we're going to call it Webinar Knockout. Okay, it's a singles competition. We want the draw to be random. We can do seeded. However, I will be totally honest, I don't feel like our seeded draws are particularly good. You can only seed half of the players in the draw. It is something that I want our developers to look at, but at the moment you can seed half of the players in your draw. Gender, we'll go for men's again. Do we want to hide this from How Did I Do in the ClubV1 Members Hub? Well, no, we don't. And I'm going to continue through there. Which course is it being played from? It's going to be played from the white tees again. Do we want to enable sign-in for this knockout via How Did I Do, ClubV1 Members Hub and PSI? Yes, we do. And that will now allow our members to enter this competition without having to go into the pro shop and enter their name on a piece of paper and then for debit their accounts. We can then put in here that the draw for this competition will be made on the 31st of March 2026 or whatever we want to do. That means that when they sign in, they'll get that message on there. So they won't be asking, when's the draw being done? Because you've told them. Continue. Do you want to charge them? Yeah, we do. We're going to charge our members £2 to enter the competition. Okay. And that's going to be taken at time of sign-in. Those of you who use charging already will know that you can take the money at time of sign-in or booking, but there's only sign-in for the knockouts. Obviously, you're not playing certain days or anything like that. Okay, so £2 for our entry. Continue through there, and that has now set up our webinar knockout. So our members can now go into the members hub. Let me just log in. And we can go to club and we can go to knockouts. And I can see that webinar knockout there, view details, and I can enter that knockout. You'll be charged £2 to enter this competition. Enter. And that has now entered me into that competition. Okay. What we would then do, obviously, other members would be joining that, but let's add some players in here that we haven't already. So we'll add in my dad. Save and add another. We'll add in Matt. We'll add in Alex. We'll add in Dave Richardson. And we just keep going through and doing that with all of our entries. I'll just do one more after this one. Save and add another. So, oh, sorry, cancel. So now we've got 8 entries in here. We can then view the entries if we want to. We can go to draw, and then we can now do our draw. Are you sure you wish to draw this knockout? Yes. And the system does it automatically for you. It will just put some play-by dates in here, which you will then need to edit. And once you have edited those play-by dates, you are then in a position where you can then notify your entrants. So what that does is it sends out a notification via email to everyone who's entered and says, "Dear David Richardson, you're in the quarterfinal of the webinar knockout. You're due to play Jonathan Cook." It gives him the handicap information, it gives him contact details, it gives him the play-by date, and then they can arrange their match. Through the ClubV1 Members Hub currently, and for those of you who are joining the How Did I Do webinar next week, it will be through How Did I Do next year. Your members can then go in and submit their scores. So if David Richardson, in fact, let me jump back into it. So if I go back to my dashboard, go to Club and go to Knockouts, Webinar Knockout, View Draw. When I now play my match, I've got drawn against my dad, I can then go in there, I can contact opponents, which gives me their details, or I can go in here and I can just enter the match result on the day that we've played. So I say that I've won because I would beat my dad. Holes up, we don't have to put that in, but if we want to put that we won 2-1 potentially, we can do that. Enter the score, and then that puts me through into the next round of the match play. Once this match has been played and the winner of that has gone into here, the system will then automatically send us both an email to say you're now in the semi-final of the webinar knockout, you're due to play whoever that is, their contact details are, and the play-by date is. So the knockouts are really, really good within the system here. Okay, so I appreciate that I have now gone over the half hour, as I promised I probably would, but I think it's important to look at those knockouts as well, seeing as we had a few minutes. I